Hello, and welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Jameelah, and I am a master manifester, and I'm sure you are too, because you are watching content like this. The name of this channel is Holistic Manifesting, because I believe in the whole body, whole mind, and whole being experience when it comes to manifesting these amazing lives that we are choosing to live. What I'm discussing in this video is the concept of begging to be a part of mediocrity. Now, this is nuanced. Whenever I pay attention to something that's really nuanced, I always can't wait to share it, because sometimes we're experiencing something and we're going through something and we know that something is happening, something's going awry, but we really can't just put our finger on it, right? So the idea of begging for mediocrity happens when we are in environments and spaces where it is pure mediocre activity. The people are performing at a mediocre level. This could be in the workplace or anything related to that. You know, they have mediocre mindsets, mediocre ways of approaching everything in life. It's all just not it. That you can tell they're not putting forth the effort. They're not really working hard. And then they're hoping that no one around them works hard also, because then it'll make them look bad. Like those type of environments. When we get into these spaces, if you are kind of like a can-do, I can make things happen kind of person, or if you're kind of person that likes to be liked, or you know that you can bring something special to the table, you may get caught up with trying to force yourself to be a part of mediocrity. It's like it'll happen in ways like, well, they didn't invite me to lunch, so maybe I'm not likable. And you start taking down pieces of yourself in order to be invited into a mediocre space. And you don't even notice that is what you're doing. And a lot of times we want to be invited into spaces that are like elevating us, spaces that are, more emotionally intelligent than us, more advanced than we are, more expansive than what we are. So that way, when we walk into these environments, we can raise our level. But when you are in environments that are mediocre, you can really get tricked into trying so hard to be invited into a mediocre state of being. I remember being at a place, and these were lovely, lovely, lovely people, right? But if you had any beliefs that were different from like theirs, or political beliefs or something like that, or anything, I can hear them because they all agreed with each other. And I was listening to them one day, and so like one day they were like, oh, actually many times a week, do you want to go to lunch? And I was like, sure. But it's like what they were going to eat for lunch was, from my perception, it was low vibrational food in areas where I didn't want to go to. And they were going as a whole group. I'm introverted. You want to be on lunch by yourself. And so I was like, yeah. And the biggest reason why I would go on these things or do these events or take these little trysts off into this world was because I didn't want to be put on the outside. And my thought process was, if I don't participate in these sort of things, then they're not going to include me in the future, and I'm not going to be a part of something in the future. So in essence, I was truly begging to be a part of mediocrity. Like they had made this club that didn't have anything going on in it. It was gossiping about everybody else in the workplace. It was low vibration food. It was low frequency conversations. Yet I found myself being pushed out of it only when I dropped to the level of being on the same frequency to some degree in order to get in there. So that's why it's so important to remember that in those environments, they will always have you beg to be a part of their mediocrity. And you're just like, if you're not paying attention, you may fall for it. Right? And what'll happen is you'll get an epiphany one day. You will get an epiphany one day to where you're sitting there and you're trying to figure out, why am I trying so hard to be a part of this space? And something big or negative will happen. Something will shift or change. Something will go down. It's like in a work environment, somebody may get fired, or something may not turn out the way everybody thought it was going to be. There's some fear mongering. Something like that will happen. And you will find out that these people were never really your friends. They don't have your back for anything. Whenever you were going through something, they pretty much act like you weren't there. They ignored you. It's like they were never, ever, ever worried about anything related to you. Yet you were worried about being a part of their mediocre, interactions. And it'll take something like that, like a light bulb will go off, and you'll be able to step back and get a bird's eye view. And you're like, why did I ever want to be a part of that? Why was it ever important for me to be a part of that group? Why was it ever important for me to be accepted in that way? And the reason why this is so prevalent to me is because one of my daughters, the one that the younger one, I talk about her the least because she's a little more introverted and she doesn't necessarily, interact with people the same way that the older one does. And so she's had an epiphany, a moment like that in activity that she does. And I clocked it a long time ago. I was like, these people are not it, but she knows who she is. She's solid and she's one of those people. But this very last incident of something happened where she didn't get something that she was supposed to get, or she thought she was supposed to get. I'm always, with the supposed to's. And not one person from that little friend group said, I'm sorry that didn't work out for you, or, it's a shame, or is anything I could, not a word, not even a peep. And when I tell you, she shows up for everything and for everybody, same old scenario you've seen 1,000 times. And I was thinking about how there's been so many times to where she doesn't want to go to a birthday party. She's like, I'm so tired, I don't want to go. She's very introverted. And she perks herself up and she goes and buys a birthday gift and she shows up at their little parties, and she's been at everybody's parties, right? She always makes sure that she supports everything that they're doing. And to have that lack of support be turned back on her, she had that epiphany moment, that moment to where she looked and was like, these people are so mediocre. All they do is gossip about everybody else. All they do is talk negatively about anything that you want to create or do or be. All they do is sit around and try to compete with each other and outdo each other. They're not even real teammates. Like, she had this epiphany all at once. And when I tell you, it was so beautiful to watch. And that's pretty much where this video came from. Because I was like, she realized she was begging to be a part of mediocrity. And when it didn't happen, it's like, you realize I was too good for that anyway. I don't want to be a part of that anyway. And sometimes we don't notice until something big happens or some moment happens, and then we get that epiphany all of a sudden. And I'm just like, people will have you. It's like, oh no, you're invited. You're not invited. You can come do this. You're not good enough for this. And then when you step back and look at the whole picture, you're like, I'm not putting the fate of my talent and skill set in the hands of this mediocre leader, this mediocre activity, this mediocre extracurricular. They're not even good. And so be mindful and be careful of that, because that is the quickest way to lower your frequency, to lower your value, is to think that you need to somehow beg people to be a part of some second-rate environment that's not even worth your time being in, but they get exclusive about it because really, they don't want to be challenged for their lower nature. They don't want to be challenged for the negativity. They don't want to be challenged in the gossip, and they want to make sure that you're able to lower yourself just enough so that you won't make them feel negative or bad or empty or shallow or hollow about what they're doing or what they're putting out into the world. And I hated to see it for her, because some of the people she inherited from like middle school, I'm like, people change when they get to high school. Then they change even after that. And that's perfectly okay. What you got to decide is this an environment I really want to have access to? Like, am I really being held away from anything? And people do this in relationships too. Like, some of the worst people in relationships, they have the worst character. They're cheaters, they're liars, and they're lying to themselves, lying to everybody else. They're like the worst character. And you will see men or women, this is not in particular, but it's just, I'm always talking from a female perspective. You will see women like dying to be, but he said this and he said that, and they're fighting for this loser's validation. And they don't even realize it. And I'm like, stop begging to be validated by this person that doesn't even have a like my mom would say, a pot to piss in or a window to throw it out of. It's like, what value do they have? Why are you giving them all the power, right? So just keep that in mind. Pay attention to when you are begging to be a part of mediocrity. And sometimes it's really covered up. I've been in environments to where it looked really good. Everybody dressed a certain way, smell a certain way. Everybody's married. They drive their expensive cars. They got their 401ks, and they got all these things lined up. And then when you really get in there and you have conversations with them, you're just like, oh my God, these people, this is not it. This is a low level of operating, and I'm sure about it. And they act all exclusive and stuff. And then it's almost like they get mad at you when you say, no, I'm good. Because they're like, wait, we let you in. And you're going to say, no, I'm good. It's like, I didn't realize that this is what was happening on the inside, right? So in your life, think about places and just keep it in the mind all the time. Am I begging to be a part of a mediocre environment? Because we should always want to and strive for environments that expand us, that grow us. We should never be fighting to be a part of things that are just, it's like, I won't say that. It might sound offensive. I used to fight to be in certain environments and cliques and all that when I was young, very, very young. And it's like, now I'm like, I used to be like, oh, I want to go, I want to do this. I was left behind, not thought about, not valued. And now I'm like, I want to do that with y'all. I don't want to hang with y'all. I don't want to hang with, like, I don't want to, there was nothing I was missing. And 9 times out of 10, you're not missing nothing. I tiptoed all around that. Anyway, I hope you all got the message anyway. Pay attention to when people have you begging to be validated by something mediocre and something that you shouldn't even be trying to get validated by anyway. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.